Bills, Lions. Bills, Lions. Lions opened up at -2.5. Now Bills -1 everywhere. Here's another one. Another one on this small card where it's switched. Bills -1 everywhere except 5 Dimes. 5 Dimes has a pick'em, and Bet365 has the Bills at -1.5. Total open at 43. Bookmakers at 42.5, while almost all other books are at 42, with Heritage hanging at 41.5. Bills have opened with back-to-back wins, 24-16 at home versus the Colts, and then went to Carolina and beat them 27-14. And I do think it's important for the Bills to change the vibe and to start winning in the preseason. I'm so on board with them trying in the preseason, change the culture in the locker room, and I love it. And as you guys know, I'm on the Bills over 6.5 win total. Matt Barkley has been really good, and he's been a leader, and he's saying all the right things in the press, and it's going to be great to know that when Josh Allen tries to get those extra 10 yards and gets concussed, that Barkley will be right there. The Lions got decimated in Week 1, 31-3 by the Patriots. Booed off the field. Week 2, they looked better in a 30-23 loss at Houston. David Fales, 12 for 19, 226 yards, 1 TD versus the Texans. And then Josh Johnson did not look good, as expected. 9-18, 85 yards, 1 interception. Donnie, RightSide, the last game on the card, Bills at Lions.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because when you take a look at Buffalo and Detroit, I think it's the same thing that both of these teams are trying to impress on is, the culture change that you talked about. Buffalo, completely stripping it down last year. It looks like their future is bright. They're getting the players they need. Now you take a look at Detroit, new coach in the last year. We thought they would have a little bit better, signal because I like the moves, and we think as collectively like some of the moves they had, not per se to win the division or make the playoffs, but just be competitive throughout the year and possibly hit their team total. But it hasn't really shown up here in the preseason. Now, what's shown up in the preseason is Buffalo looks like they're on their way to saying we're going to be here for the next couple of years. We're going to be ready to compete. I'm not ready to turn it over yet. I just like Buffalo's mindset here in the preseason. I agree with the -1. But then when you try to start getting the storylines, which you have to read into in the preseason, you say, you know what, what's the feel like? Because does Detroit want to go into their dress rehearsal, get bounced again, then not care in Week 4 of the preseason, get bounced? Now you're 0-4 as Matt Patricia. Now, real talk, most people say it's not really a big deal, but losing begets losing, and you want to at least have a good showing, or at least in the first half say, you know what, a couple good drives, we're up 14-10, let's call it quits here, we're heading into the regular season. It's a hard one to put past because most professional football teams don't really scoreboard watch, but I got to tell you, if Detroit comes out and throws another clunker out here, it gives us a little bit of doubt in the mind. I'm going to stick with Buffalo on this one. I'll take the -1 here and roll with it.
Rolling with the Bills at -1. Whale Capper, when you talk about this game, can you also briefly touch on that look that we were excited about before Week 1 of the preseason, Lions, Cardinals, Week 1? Is that going away after these performances?
Man, I guess, okay, we'll start with the Lions then. No other team really has sort of the potential chemistry nightmare that exists in Detroit. Where there's a legitimate likelihood that if this goes sideways early, this team quits on Patricia and he gets fired relatively early in the season. That's the only kind of situation I see like that, where you have a coach who's not in good standing with his players, and you have expectations that are reasonably high enough that you could have a team quit like that. So it's concerning. I will say that nothing I've seen out of the Cardinals, even though they told us and telegraphed that they weren't going to be trying particularly hard in this preseason, nothing I've seen from them looks any different than a 3-13 team to me. So I still feel like, yes, the Lions ought to be and will be and should be rightfully favored on the road in that Week 1 spot. But I'm nervous about their kind of overall trajectory of this season. Nothing about what's going on in the locker room and the way that they've played in these preseason games speaks to any kind of fire or intensity or a special affinity for Patricia. And he's the kind of guy that wears out a welcome real quickly, and it may be sooner than any of us think. Come Halloween, he may be looking for a new job. So it's it's what was the old saying? Never lean the Lions.
Jay Beach,
never lean the lines. So I think as far as this game goes, I'm on the sidelines. I'm keeping. I agree that the Bills have been with the Giants kind of the most impressive teams of the preseason to this point, as far as young team looking to try to establish new, important parts of their offensive game, and they've gotten it easily. They've gotten contributions from players that I did not expect to be especially valuable on offense. The rugby kid, I can't remember his name, has been flat out awesome.
Yeah.
Absolute playmaker. And if they can get contributions from him in the regular season, as kind of Shady McCoy heads out and twilight of his career, then that's huge for this team. Josh Allen, Josh Allen's not really a high risk, from me from a health standpoint. He's a grown ass man. He's going to be doing the concussing. I don't think he's going to be, at risk of getting a concussion.
That's what scares me. That's what scares me though, is the way he believes in his own physical attributes.
Yeah.
And that scares me. So he puts his shoulder down instead of dragging his feet and going down to the ground, and it scares me.
That's true. He's got the height though, and he's got the the body for it, and he's a true athlete out there. So I think he's going to be pretty a good guy that you could count on for at least giving us 12 games. Maybe he takes a shoulder injury at some point, which is not what you want to see. But he's got a good strong frame, and if they can kind of rein him in some ways, then I wouldn't be too worried about him.